Welcome back to Extra Innings, and my guest today is a pitcher, and I love talking pitching, and of course when he's a pitching coach. He is the pitching coach up in Sacramento during the alternate site, and he will also be the Sacramento River Cat pitching coach throughout the year. Let's bring in Garvin Alston to the show. Good afternoon, all. Garvin, how are you?
I'm doing well, Bill. How's everything going?
So glad you're on to talk about pitching. You have some firearms down in Sacramento and just so many good pitchers and so many good things that are happening. But I want Giant fans to kind of get to know you a little bit, and let's talk about your past. You grew up in Mount Vernon, New York. You went to Mount Vernon High School. Did you play other sports besides baseball?
I did. I played a little bit of basketball and played football for only 1 year. And then I just basically transferred over and just played baseball majority of my time. But I definitely was active in multiple sports.
How were you as a baseball player in high school? Did you dominate? Were you a good hitter? Did you play other positions?
I did. I was mainly, a middle infielder. I played a little bit of short, a little bit of second base. I pitched, of course, from time to time. Baseball is not really big. Huge, I should say, in Mount Vernon, but it was something that was, kept me active and kept me into and doing some things. And once I found out that I had a little bit of a talent with it, then I decided to kind of reach out and do some other things and some other leagues that was actually in Long Island and in Queens. And I realized that I was just as good as other guys that were out there. And next thing you know, things kind of just started working for me.
Well, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Ohio, and it was cold in the spring. Now, there's no doubt about it. New York was colder than Ohio in the spring, so you had to have pitched in some cold weather and played in some cold weather. How did you adapt to that in high school?
I did. And when I say it was cold, and I actually went to college for my first 2 years at Mercy College, which is right off the water of the Hudson River.
Ouch.
And there was many, many cold days. And how did I deal with it? It's just one of those things that you adapt to it. You do your best to stay warm. You layer up a little bit as much as possible. But, it was one of those things that you just kind of deal with it. You know what you're going to get as far as weather-wise, wind, rain, snow, and sleet. Actually, I pitched in a few games in snow. So those things you just deal with.
Well, they used to call me the Bengay Kid because every time I pitched, I'd put a whole tube of Bengay on my arm to stay warm. And, you do that. You do all the different things to try to stay warm in those elements. I mean, we see it in the big leagues now. We're watching games in Colorado in the snow, and it's just different times. And, of course, baseball's played in so many different weather aspects. But you went on to Florida International University. What made you transfer to Mercy to Florida International?
Well, prior to going to FIU, I actually was one of the few guys that actually played in the Cape Cod League and from a Division II school. And, I performed well. And once I performed well, there were some things at Mercy College where USA Baseball was interested in me and everything else as far as coming in. And I ran into a coach that I knew that was Rolando Casanova, and he was actually my manager for the Brewster Whitecaps. And in doing so, he said, you need to test yourself, son. He said, right now you're dominating in Mercy College Division II. You need to get to a Division I. And I was like, well, how do I do that? And I was really green and didn't understand. And what ended up happening was I went to my coach, Drew Marino, and asked him, I said, hey, do you think I need to challenge myself more? And he said, you actually do. I said, would you mind me trying to transfer and find a school? He said, absolutely do that. And next thing you know, it was between NC State and Florida International University, and I chose FIU.
Boy, I tell you, so glad you brought up Cape Cod. I've talked to so many athletes myself. I play with the Orleans Cardinals. It's such a great opportunity for college kids to go out there. There's so many scouts. I got to ask you, what was your job when you were in Brewster?
I worked at this Ocean Club, I want to call it Rotary, and my job was cutting strawberries.
I tell you, it's so funny when some of the jobs some of these guys have. I painted the trim on a Cape Cod house, and I swear the wife would go to the market, and the guy would grab me and would go in the backyard and drink lemonade. He'd tell me all about his life. It was just so appealing to us. We're college kids, and that opportunity was just immense. When you were in Brewster, I mean, did you guys have like 20, 30 scouts at the games? Because it seemed like every game there was so many guys there.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, we had the Lau Mutans and the Ricky Greens and, gosh, there was a bunch of Pedro Griffols, all those guys, Billy Owens, all these different guys from big universities that were big names, and little old me here from Mercy College. I was in all of these things when I got there. And then when I went back for my second year, my sophomore year, then eyes kind of turned to me a little bit. And, I performed well again, and things kind of worked out. But, yes, there was so many scouts at every game, and you start building relationships. And that was the fun thing about it more than anything else, building relationships.
Well, you went on to Florida International University, and you got drafted in 1992 in the 10th round of the Colorado Rockies. Signed with the Rockies and kind of moved through the system pretty well. You got to the big leagues in 1996. My question I always ask everybody, where were you when they called you to move you to the big leagues, and what was the first impression you had?
Well, we were at home at that present time, and they called me up. And I went to Houston. Where was I at? I was actually driving to the field, and they said, hey, you need to get here, and so we can talk to you. And I thought, maybe something happened, but didn't think that was going to go to the major leagues. And, they just brought me into the office, talked to me. There's a need up in the major leagues. You have an opportunity to go out there and impact and help, but be smart and just listen to the guys that are up there. But here's the crazy thing about it. I actually made the major league teams in 1995 after the strike year, but I didn't pitch in any game. That was actually my first time in the major leagues. So I made the opening day roster in 1995. Had two pitchers, Curtis Laskanik and Mike Munoz. 2 days prior to opening day, they injured themselves. I believe it was an ankle and a hip. And so they went on at that time, the 14-day DL retroactive. So literally, I was ready to go to New Haven, Connecticut, AA, and Don Baylor called me into the office and said, hey, you made our team. We're going to keep you here. You're not going to probably pitch in most games or any games, but we'll keep you ready if blowouts were winning or losing. We'll go ahead and bring you in and do your best. He said, we know you're not 100% ready, but we feel that you can go ahead and help us if needed. And I said, I was so ecstatic.
Yeah, I tell you what, when Don Baylor and his career, when they're sitting down talking to you, it's just like you're like, wow, I'm in the big leagues, the surprise and the energy there. And when you first walked in that clubhouse, when you got called up and saw your name in your locker and things like that, where you knew you were going to play and you were going to pitch, did that heart race? Did you get nervous? Did you anticipate, what's next?
Actually, I didn't, and here's the reason why. Okay. Most of those guys that I've been around, Marvin Freeman, the Billy Swifts, all those guys, they actually made me feel comfortable to the point where I felt like I was around friends and family, which it was. It was a great atmosphere, and that started in spring training. So I wasn't actually nervous. Of course, there was an extra amount of adrenaline because I wanted to go out there and succeed and help my team and show guys that I belonged here. So there was definitely a rush of adrenaline and trying to do more but I wasn't nervous at all, which was strange to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the end of your career, you went overseas. You played, I might be saying this wrong, the Wee Chun Dragons. Is that how I would say it? Is that the correct way to say that name?
That is absolutely perfect. Yeah.
I was lucky, huh? That was in 1999, and you ended up being a champion. The Taiwan championship came your way. How difficult was it to play overseas, for one, and how much introduction to the different world was opening for you? It was more of an education on that side.
Well, at that point in time in my career, I knew I was on the back end, understanding I had a few injuries with my elbows, Tommy John, and things of that nature. So at that point, I was like, let me see if I can go and be in a position where I can pitch consistently, get my rhythm back, get my time back, get my velocity back up to mid to upper 90s. And this opportunity was afforded to me because not a lot of teams wanted me to play here in the States, but the teams that did not want to pay me the amount that was needed at that point in time. So I took the opportunity. It was absolutely wonderful. Culturally, it was wonderful. The only problem was my babies. I had two babies at that time, and I needed to get back to them. But I knew the sacrifice was necessary. But it was a great experience. And, of course, if that situation was to ever pop up again, I would definitely do it all over again.
Garvin Alston, the pitching coach for the River Cats, is my guest on Extra Innings. After you retired out of baseball, you jumped into being a pitching coach, and I'm going to kind of take you through this. You were a pitching coach of the Padres, you were a pitching coordinator with the Oakland A's, and you were also a pitching coach with the Minnesota Twins, but you were a big league pitching coach and a bullpen coach for the Diamondbacks. Over those years, I mean, there's so many teams you were with and so many different pitchers that you have accomplished and made better. When you look at the past, I'm just talking about the past, not now as with you're with the Giants, some of the things you learned, and I love some of the things you said. You said, I learned about emotions from a pitcher. I learned to respect the senior pitchers, the veteran pitchers, and I wanted to make relationships better and better with each person I met. Tell me your thoughts on all those different things I threw at you.
Well, the first thing is that really stands out when I talk about it is respecting the veterans and understanding who they are and what they've been through, and understanding the grind and the challenge of just getting to the position of where they're at, whether it's major leagues or in the minor leagues. There has to be a form of respect, especially since I would want respect from them. And if I show respect and they understand that and they see that, then that can be a mutual thing between us. And understanding that, you get to learn them and you get to open and grow with relationships. And that's like my number one thing. We have tons and tons of information that's out here in baseball with all the analytics and experiences that I've actually been through. So how do I get that information to them? And most guys are not going to be open to anyone, regardless of anything at all, unless you have a relationship with them. They'll hear you, but it'll be short-lived. So one of my approaches is to basically, get to know them, show them respect, understand where they're coming from, understand the things that they've been through that's actually injured them or hurt them emotionally, and be able to get ahead and make sure stay away from those pitfalls and be able to help them and give them the information so they can go out there and perform at their best ability. And in the long run, it's not just a work relationship. Now it becomes a work relationship and a friendship, a partnership, which is necessary in this job.
My guest, Garvin Alston, he is the pitching coach at the alternate site until the first week of May, and when the River Cats start, he'll be the pitching coach. And I got to come right at you, Garvin. Is David Brundage and Damon Minor putting a little pressure on you? Because last time the River Cats were in uniform in Sacramento, they were national champions, and you're a new guy on the block. Have they kind of just cornered you and said, hey, it's up to you now to get us there?
No, we haven't been down that road just yet, but you can see the work that I call him Tiny. Tiny puts in.
Tiny, that's a good one.
Excellent. We share the same office, and in doing so, we've had some great conversations, and he's definitely been around for a while, and I've known him from other places and seen him before, but he's a really good individual, and the leadership of Brundy, here we go. I can't wait to get this thing started.
Yeah, what a great coaching staff. I've known those guys for years, and just the communication they have with their players and how they protect their players, and just like
Right.
what you talk about, the respect factor, you three are going to do great up in Sacramento. So let's talk a little bit of what's going on at the alternate site. It's almost breaking down now where the teams are going to start breaking up. Teams will go to Richmond and down to A-ball, but let's talk a little bit about the Sacramento River Cats and what's going on with them. And the three guys, of course, I'm going to throw you right at it, are the youngest guys. Kervin Castro is one of the names I just love. Gregory Santos, who just ended up just coming up to the big league, struggled a little bit coming back to Sacramento. But I want to start with Camilo Duvall. Camilo Duvall has just been sensational through the spring training, and he's starting to be that middle relief guy. Your thoughts, maybe not even your thoughts, your direction on all three of these guys, because they got such live arms, and really it's just more or less the experience to get on the mounds and kind of get that confidence back.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It's basically just going out there and being who you are. The one thing I would say about Camilo Duvall is it's simple. If he's able to get ahead and command his off-speed pitch, which is his slider, those things, everything else falls into place. His fastball command, it is what it is. He'll spot up from some time, but that's not his game. His game is making sure that he's keeping you off balance, so the element of surprise Expecting a fastball, you get a breaking ball. Expecting a breaking ball, you get a fastball. But when you look at these athletes, and all three of them possess something. Even Santos, they all possess something that is very unique, which is a major fastball or great spin, great carry to the zone, or elite slider spin. So with all three of those things and having those things with them, it allows them to get ahead and be a special project or a special guy in the major leagues that's going to make a serious impact.
You know, all three of them, to have that high energy, they're also young, and they have such vibrant fastball. It's just like an electric fastball. And you as a pitching coach as well as other members see that. I mean, it's like, okay, you got that fastball. How are we going to command it? How are we going to hit the zone? Is there something that you kind of break them into about throwing strikes? Because that's really the number one problem in Major League Baseball. Too many relievers coming in and walking the yard. You as a pitching coach, you have to turn that around and educate them. What is the first direction you tell them?
Well, they tell us, to be honest with you. We take a look at how their body moves, and once we see how their body moves, we make adjustments off of that. For me, it's not a cookie-cutter situation where everybody needs to throw the baseball the same. And once we understand, like, Santos throws way differently than Duvall, and Castro throws differently than both of them. So once we understand how they move, and there's certain aspects of their delivery that need to be in certain timing, and understand their own kinetic chain, what ends up happening is that they become their best of themselves. And for me as a pitching coach, that's what I need to learn. I need to learn what they do, how they do it. And, of course, all the information that's out there helps us. It's a tool more than anything else. It's not the thing that's telling us. It's a tool to get ahead and give us clues and ideas of how the ball is moving, how their body is moving, and you make adjustments accordingly. For me, it's confidence more than anything else. If you can put the correct confidence in these young men who, of course, are living out their dreams and that may have been a little nervous or may not understand that they belong just yet, what ends up happening is that they throw the ball over the plate. They're not afraid to let it get hit, and that's okay. And that's one of the things that we talked about here within the organization. And that's one of the things that I talked about quite a bit when these guys were here, as far as making sure that I touch them every day, making sure they're throwing program, they're concentrating and not just messing around. These things are important leading up to your time when you're actually facing real hitters.
That voice you're hearing on Extra Inning is Garvin Alston. He is the pitching coach at the Sacramento alternate site, but he will be pushing through for being the Sacramento River Cat pitching coach. Three pitchers that came to spring training that really were lights out, and I'm going to throw you all three, and you can touch on all three. Zach Littell, really throwing the ball well. Yeah. Dominic Leone and Nick Tropiano, three guys that have big league experience. They're in your back pocket. You're watching them develop in front of you. Tell me a little bit about each one of these guys.
Absolutely. I'll start with Littell. I actually had Littell in 2018 when I was with the Twins, and was very impressed with him there as I am now. His repertoire and his pitch mix is really good. He's tightening up some things at this present moment so we get his pitch mix just right. I'm happy where he's at, and any time that when the Major League Baseball or the San Francisco Giants calls, he will definitely be ready. Dominic Leone, I can't say enough about at this present moment. He's a veteran. I had him also when I was with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and in doing so, he, at this present moment, is lights out. He's one of our best performing pitchers in his alt site, and he's throwing all his pitches for strikes, and he's throwing the ball extremely well. So very happy where he's at. And of course, Nick Tropiani. He's a veteran, and he knows exactly what he's doing, how to do it. He's also throwing the ball extremely well, made some adjustment on his split finger and his changeup and everything else, and it's back to being what it was before. So I'm extremely, extremely happy with all three and where they're at and how they're going about it. They're guys that give information to other guys that are here, and they help other people. It's a community. And they understand at this present moment they're not where they want to be, but they will be eventually if the situation permits. But at this time, they're working hard. They're not going a day and just cashing it in. They're actually working every single day to get themselves better so they can be ready to help this Major League team get to a championship.
Well, Garvin, two left-handers, one veteran, and I say kind of a rookie, but two guys that I really love watching pitch. And of course, I've watched one pitch, Scott Kazmir, for many years with the Oakland A's. You
Yeah.
had him, as well as his whole list of teams he played with. And of course, he hasn't pitched in the big leagues since 2016. Had a nice interview with him last weekend, and he was just more or less the drive is still there, Bill. The trying to get to the big leagues. I'm trying like hell to push myself to get better, and analytics is helping me. And then the other one is Connor Menez. Here's a guy that I've really watched ever since he came through the minor leagues. He's just a guy that get the ball and go. He's a typical Alex Wood kind of pitcher. He doesn't waste time. He gets in there and lets contact help him. Two different style of pitchers. Tell me what you think of both of them.
Oh, I think the world of both of them. I'll start off with Connor. Connor is a young man. I'm getting to know him presently. Love his pitch mix of his fastball that actually cuts a little bit from time to time, but his slider is a very dominant pitch. If you look at his numbers, he gets a lot of swings and misses, and that's the one thing that we love about Connor. Had a lot of outliers of his approach angle and how he throws the baseball. What we're working on now is making sure that he can get and stir up those pitches, work to both sides of the plate so he can be effective to both lefties and righties, and kind of go from there. He's working on changeup to improve in that at this present moment. But Connor is right where he needs to be at this present moment. I think the world is his if he can get ahead and connect and get those things going consistently. And if he can do that, I think he can be a viable asset for us here with San Francisco in the major leagues in time to come. When it comes to Kaz, I kind of light up. I had an opportunity to work with him prior to when he was with the Oakland Athletics, and to have him over here right now, just as he said, the drive is definitely still there. There's no difference from the time when he was with us, that time with the A's, until where he is now. He's working hard. He's putting in the time. I mean, he's been up to 94 a few times with his fastball. We're literally getting his breaking ball back into shape. He has a added cutter, which we kind of morphed from his old slider. I mean, there are a lot of positives that are happening at this present moment. His changeup hasn't skipped a beat from where it was before. So right now, the analytics that we're using at the present moment, understanding his best pitches and his profiles to go ahead and start tunneling these pitches and putting them together in combination, those are the things that we're using the analytics for, to go ahead and give him a better opportunity. Of course, he's not throwing 98 like he used to 100 miles an hour. So there has to be some compensation into what we need to do, and he understands that. And when I say he's a pro, he's a pro.
Mm-hmm. Well, Garvin, a fan favorite, went through Tommy John surgery last year, and he is rehabbing with you. And I know the fans want to hear how he's going, and that's Tyler Beede. Just a great guy off the field. I've had many conversations with him. The desire to get back on the mound is there. He's so fired up every time I chat with him. Tell me the process and what's going on with Tyler Beede as we talk today.
Well, at this present moment, he's doing extremely well. Knock on wood. He's throwing the ball well, and he's recovering well. The process right now, I have few interactions with him. He still does a lot of his work down in Oracle with the big league club. So whenever he needs to come to our facility, we're here for him. But everything that I've seen thus far has been spectacular. The one thing I will say about him, he puts in the work. This young man goes about his business as if, tomorrow's not promised. And he puts in the work today, and he understands that, and he's starting to reap the benefits of that from all the work that he's putting in.
Well, Garvin Alston, best of luck to you. So glad you're wearing the orange and black finally, and you are that special person that pitching needs in Sacramento, and that corner guy that's going to give them the push and the confidence, and I just appreciate your time today. We will definitely be chatting as the season goes on to get progress on a lot of people, but it's great talking to you, great to get to know you, and looking forward to talking to you more as the season goes on.
Well, thank you, Bill, for having me. I truly appreciate it. You have a great day.
Thanks, Garvin. That was Garvin Alston. He is the pitching coach at the alternate site in Sacramento. He'll also be moving forward as the Sacramento River Cat pitching coach. Some great analogy by him, and looking forward to hearing more from him. So we'll be right back on Extra Innings, 104.5, 680, the sports leader.